Hello, everyone. My name is Katy Goshtasbi, and today I'm here to talk to you at the Equity Summit about how to take the personal brand that you are and that you have as a human, as a lawyer, and integrate it with diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging and leadership to really form the essence of who you are and have a thriving practice with diversity, equity, inclusion being at the forefront of your practice. So I'm going to share my screen with you and share some slides with you. So what I really want you to know is who I am. So I am an immigrant. I immigrated to the United States as a refugee, really, and back in 1979 during the Iranian Revolution. And since we weren't Muslim, we had to leave the country. And that's no slant on religion. It was just that we were not welcome in that country anymore. And I say that because there's a sense of belonging that's missing, right? And so it actually impacts who we think we are as people. And I'll get more to that later. So I always wanted to save the world by becoming a securities lawyer. And I got to do that for many great years. I had a fantastic career in Washington, D.C. I put myself through law school, undergrad, as a good immigrant. And I was a federal lobbyist. And then from there, I went to the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission when Enron blew up. And I got to clean up a lot of that mess. And I created the registration system where advisors and broker dealers register. And then from there, I switched hats and I went to a law firm and I got to be counsel to a lot of those clients that I had drafted rules for. And it was at the firm that I started to realize I had a second career coming and I didn't quite know what to do with it. Other lawyers, of which there were so many in Washington, D.C., would ask me, hey, how did you get promoted? How did you get the partner in charge to give you that case? And I really didn't know what I was doing, except I was giving them good, solid advice on their brand. Do this, say this. I would take them to lunch and give them all this advice. And if it doesn't work, I'll take you back to lunch. So that was how my second career really started. And then from the firm, I went in-house, and it was in-house where I burnt out. And I don't want this to be any of your stories, but I imagine it is a lot of people's stories. I had spent 15 hours one day drafting a very small fund, mutual fund prospectus. And I went home in the dark at 9 o'clock by myself that night. I opened my mailbox just to check my mail. And by happenstance, what was there? My own prospectus, one of my own prospectuses. And what did I do with it? Well, I reflexively threw it away because no one reads that stuff. And that was my big aha moment standing there in the dark that, oh my gosh, what if what I was doing as a lawyer was really not why I had decided to go to law school? It was not really serving humanity the way I wanted to serve humanity, right? So I quit my job cold turkey 2 years before the recession. I am not telling anyone to do that as well. I am just saying that's what I ended up doing. I went through 7 very painful years where everyone thought at first I was crazy because no one was reinventing themselves. And I thought I was crazy too. But we landed here and I spent 7 painful years figuring out who I was and really my identity, which is what I want to talk to you about, and really owning being a refugee and immigrant and a prior lawyer, and then turning it into the second career. But my goal is that it doesn't take anybody as long as it took me and as much pain as it took me. So here's what I want to talk to you about. There's 4 steps to this process as I teach it. And 2 years ago, I was privileged to be the chair of the ABA Law Practice Division. And this year, I just finished being the chair of the ABA Diversity Law Practice Division Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Committee. And these are things we talked about in great depth in the committee. The 4-step process is the first step is unearthing and developing the brand that is you. Okay, and we're going to talk about why that has to come first, and it's so important. Then you got to educate your team. What's their brand? What's their contribution? And have them learn the same things you just learned about themselves and about the process. After that, then you can create a hiring plan that gets in the right people so that there's consistency and continuity to the brand of the practice, but also to the diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging that you're looking for and creating. And that will then allow people to really step up and own their leadership skills. And then from there, you can create the plan on how to manage bias or diversity issues should they occur, because you all have a solid brand and you're all going to be able to work amicably at this point to create that solution for yourself. So we're just going to focus on step one today in the 15 minutes that I'm going to be talking to you about, obviously. So there's 4 benefits to developing your brand. The first big benefit is it's going to really eliminate bias and diversity issues. Why? Because people have self-awareness and they understand who they are. Once you develop your brand, you're like, hey, I'm special. I have all these talents and natural abilities, and my story matters. And why I became a lawyer really matters, and what my contribution is to society really matters. And then from there, you take that awareness and you move it over, and you're able to then really create that atmosphere where everyone else is welcome as well. Okay. You also reduce your stress, and stress is based on my formal research that I developed 10 years ago at UCLA with a neuroscientist, where I found there's a direct inverse correlation between stress and self-confidence. So as our stressors go up in our lives, and we have plenty of them, right? Pandemics, aging parents, children, all sorts of things. The stress goes up, your self-confidence proportionally drops, according to my formal research. When that happens, we're not resonating with our audience anymore. And so they're not emotionally resonating with us, meaning that they're not buying what we're selling them, including our legal skills. So when you develop your brand, your stress is lower, your self-confidence is higher, and you can sell yourself better. And that even makes you more open to increasing and allowing other people's diverse viewpoints to come into the picture. You get to identify your natural talents and strengths, like I said. And when you do, that boosts your self-confidence, increases your self-awareness, and your ability to see diverse settings and diverse people is welcome, and also bringing their natural talents and strengths. And then the 4th benefit of developing your brand is it lets you shine and self-promote yourself well. You really get to own who you are and realize that, hey, I'm not here to brag, and I'm not uncomfortable selling. I'm just here helping you. And that's why I'm self-promoting myself in a healthy way in order to get you results. Okay. So let's define personal branding real quick. And I'm going to give you guys this definition. It's in a handout form that I gave to you. Personal branding is really the process of unearthing your most unique and relevant attributes. What's truly unique and relevant about you? Not just everything, but what is truly unique and relevant about you? And most people will say, most lawyers will say to me as clients, I don't have anything unique about myself. There's no unique attribute. There's nothing that's relevant. And this is where the stumbling blocks happen. If you don't know, then you can't sell me on it. And most importantly, for our diversity conversation here today, you cannot go out to another person and say, hey, you're unique and special, and I honor those attributes in you. So bring it on, right? So there's no way of giving other people space to be who they are. Second part, once you unearth your most unique and relevant attributes, then you get to learn to communicate those attributes consistently to your audience and to your clients. That's really attractive because you get to share the diversity that's now in your practice through your own attributes and through your colleagues. And you get to see them through other people's lenses, and you get to communicate them consistently. Communication is always a trip up for people, and consistency is a problem for lawyers as well. Why consistency? Because if I don't consistently tell you the same message, you don't remember, because we're all over texted, over tweeted, over caffeinated. People aren't paying attention. And consistency also breeds safety. If I hear the same message, then I'm going to feel safe with you, because I'm then going to be able to trust you. And that's a very important brand development. And then lastly, once you've unearthed what's unique about you and communicated it consistently to your audience, what is the audience's view on this? What's the feedback cycle? What do they think of you? And this is very important, because we often, in diversity issues and diversity matters, turn a blind eye to other people because we're not willing to listen to them or focus on them. But here, what I want you to really get is that when you do focus and you do allow your audience to give you feedback, then you get to see where the weaknesses lie in your practice and your ability to really have a diverse audience and create that diversity between your practice and yourself. And then you also get to take that feedback and do remarkable things, which is what we do for our clients with it. So let's define inclusion. Inclusion is a very important definition. It's about a sense of belonging, feeling respected, valued, and seen for who we are. Okay, so remember that last part of that sentence, seen for who we are. So really we're talking about a question of identity versus role. When I was a practicing lawyer and I stopped, I had lost my identity because it had been so wrapped up in my role as a lawyer. I remember one day saying to my sister, well, if I'm not a lawyer, then who am I? And she looked at me, and she was an engineer, mind you, and she said, you're a human. And that is so very true. Be careful when you're working on this material, and really, in order to actually reframe diversity for yourself and be able to see and honor it in someone who may not classify themselves as female or male, right? Is really understanding that we all have our identity despite our role. And that's being a human being and being valuable and being worthy of who we are just as we are, just because we were born that way. That's our identity. How we choose to define that identity in terms of gender, in terms of anything else, sexuality, is really part and parcel with the roles we take in our lives, in my opinion. And that comes with our careers as well. So you can call yourself a lawyer, you can call yourself anything, but it's not necessarily directly tied to your identity. It is an outgrowth of your identity. So your identity is stable, and that is really your brand. Your role is just an onlay onto your brand. Once you really start to see that distinction, you will start to embrace other people for their identities versus their roles. And that's a powerful place to be in. So really what we're talking about here is this concept of reinvention and reframing who you are, which is not meant to be scary because you're always evolving. There is no such thing in my world as retirement. It's about reinvention. So I want you to really think about, how are you going to reinvent yourself, and how are you going to dismiss this concept of competition? As lawyers, we're so in competition with other lawyers that increases our stress. And so I'm always working with my client base and my programs on reducing people's competition needs to compare themselves with other people, because once we reduce that need to drive and compare ourselves, then we're okay with who we are. Our stressors go down, our self-confidence goes up, our ability to embrace other people for their diversity and inclusion stances go up, and then we actually have a thriving practice. So what's the cure? I really want you to stop and think about the cure is you creating an intentional branding plan where you are in control, no one else but you. It's the cure because you are in control of your brand. So the real question here is, who are you? Who are you as your identity, not as your role as a lawyer, but who are you at your core? This may seem to be an uncomfortable question. Everything I talk about is uncomfortable because, frankly, if you're always in comfort, then you're not learning and growing. You're not getting any value out of what I'm saying. So great that you're uncomfortable with this question. That means you're getting value here and that you're going to be of value to your clients. Stop and think, what makes you special and who you are? As the common goal is really growth and evolution, which is more than just change. More change is just getting a haircut, driving a different route to work. This is about transformation and leaving yourself altered so that you're never the same, in a good way, because stagnation and not doing anything differently and not transforming is the hallmark for a business and a law practice that stagnates. And by the way, when you stagnate, you don't allow other diverse opinions into your world and other diverse people to lend and grow your practice with you. And that definitely hurts in multiple ways. So I want you to stop and think about, how are you going to sync your own brand with your firm and practice brand? And as my great mentor in London, James Espy, who is famous for his branding expertise, says, learn, earn, and return. How are you going to bring this back to your community, to other lawyers, and to your practice? In other words, where's your ladder headed? As Judy Perry Martinez, past ABA president, said at one of our conferences, she said, when you get to the top of the ladder, don't pull it up. Leave it down and bring others up with you, because that really allows you to have a diverse mindset and allow you to own your own brand with confidence and say, hey, I'm going to help you out because you're deserving. We're all born deserving. So however way you want to look at it, we're not trying to get into mushy romantic conversations that don't belong in the practice of law. But when we actually value ourselves and have self-worth for ourselves, and the L word, love, comes up, then we have the capacity to embrace other people for who they are and their diverse opinions. And our client base sees that, our fellow colleagues sees that, the bench and bar sees that, and we're an attractive brand with an attractive practice. So I want to give you a gift to get this going for yourself. I have a free branding masterclass coming up. Actually, it starts on the day this video is being aired to you, that the summit's going on. So it's free. You just go to puristconsulting.com/own it, which is the name of the program, and you register and you get a video every day with lots of insightful information. And there's a total of 4 videos. So you can watch them at your own pace, and there's handouts and things to work on. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about, leveraging your personal brand to really build diversity, equity, inclusion, and a leadership brand that works for everyone. I hope you enjoyed the content. And if you have any questions, of course, you know where to find me. And until we meet again, thanks so much for having me.